Welcome to the channel Mysteries of Time, where history comes alive, unlocking the secrets of the past like never before. Get ready to refresh your mind, gain the best knowledge, and dive into stories that shaped our world. Stay with us, because here learning history is not just educational, it's truly enjoyable. The birth of an empire. Cyrus the Great. It all began in the 6th century BCE in the vast lands of what is now modern-day Iran. The Persian tribes, once fragmented and divided, were brought together by a leader of unparalleled vision and ambition, Cyrus the Great. The rise of Cyrus and the fall of the Median Empire. Born around 600 BCE, Cyrus II of Persia was a member of the Achaemenid dynasty, which ruled over a small Persian kingdom under the dominance of the Median Empire. However, Cyrus saw a future where Persia would not serve under another ruler, but instead lead a vast and unified empire. In 550 BCE, he led a revolt against the Median king Astyages, his own grandfather, defeating him in battle. By overthrowing the Median Empire, Cyrus laid the foundations of the Achaemenid Persian Empire, marking the beginning of a new era in world history. His victory was not merely about conquest. He absorbed the Median administration and military into his own, ensuring a smooth transition of power. Cyrus's expanding conquests. After securing his rule, Cyrus turned his attention to expanding his empire. He launched highly strategic military campaigns, quickly establishing Persian dominance over neighboring territories. Conquest of Lydia, 547 BCE. Cyrus defeated King Croesus, seizing the wealthy Lydian kingdom in Asia Minor, modern Turkey, renowned for its gold reserves and coinage system. Incorporation of the eastern satrapies. Cyrus expanded Persian influence eastward, securing regions in Central Asia and beyond. The capture of Babylon, 539 BCE. One of his greatest achievements was the conquest of the Neo-Babylonian Empire, where he was welcomed as a liberator rather than an oppressor. A benevolent conqueror. The Cyrus cylinder, unlike many rulers of his time, Cyrus was not just a military strategist, but also a visionary statesman. His rule was characterized by tolerance, inclusivity, and respect for different cultures. After conquering Babylon, Cyrus issued the famous Cyrus Cylinder, often regarded as the first charter of human rights. He freed the Jewish captives, allowing them to return to Jerusalem and rebuild their temple, an act recorded in biblical texts. He maintained local traditions and religions in conquered lands, fostering stability and loyalty among his subjects. His humanitarian approach to governance earned him the title, the Father of the Persian Nation, a ruler beloved not only by his own people but by those he conquered. The legacy of Cyrus. The great Cyrus's rule laid the groundwork for what would become the largest empire the world had ever seen. His political, military, and cultural strategies influenced not only his successors, but also future civilizations, from the Greeks to the Romans and beyond. Even today, his ideals of governance, religious tolerance, and human rights remain an enduring legacy of his extraordinary reign. Expansion and the reign of Darius the Great. After the death of Cyrus the Great, his son Cambyses II expanded the Persian Empire by conquering Egypt, adding a crucial territory to the Achaemenid domain. However, it was under the reign of Darius the Great, that the Persian Empire reached the height of its power, organization, and influence. Darius's administrative reforms and infrastructure. Ascending the throne in 522 BCE, Darius embarked on a series of ambitious projects that strengthened and stabilized the empire. Recognizing the challenge of ruling over such a vast and diverse realm, he, divided the empire into satrapies, provinces, each governed by a satrap, governor, ensuring efficient administration and control. Standardized currency by introducing the gold Daric coin, which facilitated trade and economic stability throughout the empire. Constructed the Royal Road, a 1,500-mile-long highway stretching from Susa to Sardis, vastly improving trade, communication, and military logistics. Established a postal system with relay stations along the Royal Road, ensuring that messages could travel quickly across the empire. Encouraged cultural and religious tolerance, allowing different ethnic and religious groups to maintain their traditions under Persian rule. These policies transformed the Persian Empire into one of the most efficiently governed states in history, laying the foundation for future imperial models. Darius and the Greco-Persian Wars. Darius's ambition for expansion eventually brought Persia into direct conflict with the Greek city-states, leading to the Greco-Persian Wars. The Ionian Revolt, 499 to 493 BCE, in which Greek city-states in Asia Minor rebelled against Persian rule, prompted Darius to seek retribution against Greece. In 490 BCE, he launched an invasion into mainland Greece, leading to the Battle of Marathon. Despite outnumbering the Greeks, the Persian forces suffered a shocking defeat at the hands of the Athenian army, marking one of the first significant setbacks for the Persian military. Although defeated at Marathon, Persia remained a dominant force, and Darius continued his efforts to expand and consolidate the empire until his death in 486 BCE. His son, Xerxes I, would later resume his father's campaign against Greece, leading to some of the most legendary battles in history. Xerxes and the Greco-Persian Wars. Following the death of Darius the Great in 486 BCE, his son, Xerxes, I ascended the throne of the Achaemenid Empire. Unlike his father, Xerxes inherited an empire at its peak but faced the unfinished business of avenging Persia's defeat at the Battle of Marathon, 490 BCE. Determined to crush the Greek city-states and expand Persian dominance into Europe, Xerxes prepared for one of the most ambitious military campaigns in ancient history. The Second Persian Invasion of Greece, 480 BCE. Xerxes' Grand Invasion and the march to Greece. Xerxes spent several years amassing what was likely the largest military force ever assembled in antiquity. Ancient sources, particularly Herodotus, estimated his army to be nearly 1 million strong, although modern historians believe it was closer to 200,000, 300,000 troops. This force included Persians, Medes, Babylonians, Egyptians, Indians, and other subject peoples, reflecting the vastness of the Achaemenid Empire. To facilitate the invasion, Xerxes undertook massive engineering projects, including constructing the Hellespont Bridge. To cross from Asia into Europe, Persian engineers built 2 enormous pontoon bridges across the Hellespont, modern-day Dardanelles Strait, allowing his vast army to march into Greece. Digging the Canal of Mount Athos. A fleet of Persian ships had previously been destroyed by storms near Mount Athos in 492 BCE. To prevent a repeat disaster, Xerxes ordered a canal dug through the peninsula, an astonishing feat of ancient engineering. With his colossal army and navy in position, Xerxes began his campaign, determined to succeed where his father had failed. The Battle of Thermopylae, a heroic last stand-in. August 480 BCE, the Persians reached the narrow mountain pass of Thermopylae, where a small but determined Greek force, led by King Leonidas of Sparta, prepared to resist. The Greek alliance, primarily composed of Spartans, Thespians, and other Greek warriors, numbered around 7,000 men, significantly outnumbered by the Persian army. For 3 days, the Greek warriors held their ground, using the narrow pass to neutralize the Persian numerical advantage. The legendary 300 Spartans, alongside their allies, fought to the death after being betrayed by a Greek named Ephialtes, who revealed a hidden path that allowed the Persians to flank the Greek forces. Despite the loss, the Greek resistance at Thermopylae became a symbol of courage, sacrifice, and defiance against tyranny, inspiring future generations. The burning of Athens and the Battle of Salamis. With the path to central Greece open, Xerxes' forces advanced southward, capturing and burning Athens to the ground as retribution for Greek resistance. However, the Greeks had evacuated most of their population to the nearby island of Salamis, preparing for a decisive naval engagement. The Persian navy, though larger and more powerful, was at a disadvantage in the narrow straits of Salamis. Themistocles, the Athenian naval commander, lured the Persian fleet into the confined waters, where the smaller, more maneuverable Greek triremes launched a devastating counterattack. The Persian fleet was decimated, with hundreds of ships, either sunk or captured. Xerxes, watching from a throne on a nearby hill, witnessed his navy's destruction, a humiliating and decisive blow. Xerxes' retreat and the decline of the Persian Empire. Following the loss at Salamis, Xerxes abandoned his ambitions of conquering Greece. Fearing an uprising in Persia, he left behind his general Mardonius with a portion of the army to continue the fight, while he retreated to Asia Minor with the bulk of his forces. In 479 BCE, at the Battle of Plataea, the Greeks defeated the remaining Persian forces, ending the invasion for good. Around the same time, the Greek fleet won another decisive battle at Mycale, crippling Persian naval power in the Aegean. The failure of Xerxes' invasion marked the turning point for the Achaemenid Empire. Although Persia remained a dominant power, its aura of invincibility was shattered, and the empire would never again launch a serious attempt to conquer Greece. Internally, political instability, court intrigues, and economic strain gradually weakened the empire, setting the stage for its eventual downfall under Alexander the Great nearly 150 years later. The Golden Age and internal struggles. Despite its military setbacks in Greece, the Persian Empire remained a global superpower. Under the reign of Artaxerxes Learner RR 465-424 BCE and his successors, the empire experienced a cultural and economic renaissance. Persian rulers shifted their focus from conquest to consolidation, administration, and artistic achievement, ushering in what could be considered a golden age for the Achaemenid dynasty. Flourishing culture and grand architecture, one of the hallmarks of Persia's golden age, was its architectural splendor. Artaxerxes I and his descendants expanded Persepolis, the empire's ceremonial capital, adding magnificent palaces, intricate reliefs, and colossal columns that showcased Persian craftsmanship. These structures, adorned with elaborate carvings of warriors, delegations, and tribute bearers from across the empire, symbolized Persia's vast reach and cultural diversity. The Persian court became a center of intellectual and artistic achievement, drawing scholars, engineers, and artists from Egypt, Babylon, and India. Advancements in science, astronomy, and medicine flourished, with Persian scholars contributing to early concepts of mathematics, engineering, and irrigation systems. The empire also played a crucial role in global trade, connecting the East and West via the Royal Road and Persian Gulf trade routes, facilitating the exchange of goods, ideas, and technologies. Internal struggles and corruption. However, beneath this prosperity, the Persian Empire was beginning to crumble from within. As time passed, corruption and political intrigue spread through the imperial court. The vast empire became increasingly difficult to govern, and satraps, once loyal provincial governors, began amassing power, wealth, and autonomy, often acting as independent rulers rather than subjects of the king. The Persian monarchy became entangled in succession crises, where sons and nobles fought violently for the throne. Assassinations, betrayals, and court conspiracies weakened the central authority. Rulers like Artaxerxes II, R404-358 BCE, and Artaxerxes III, R358-338 BCE, faced repeated revolts from satraps, while civil wars drained the empire's resources and military strength. Additionally, overtaxation to fund royal luxuries and military campaigns placed a heavy burden on the population, leading to unrest and discontent among the people. While Persia remained powerful, it was no longer the unstoppable force it once was. The beginning of the end by the late 4th century BCE, the Persian Empire was a shadow of its former self. The once mighty administration, which had effectively governed millions, was now plagued by bureaucratic inefficiency, disloyalty, and rebellion. This internal decay made Persia vulnerable to external threats, setting the stage for the rise of a young Macedonian king, Alexander the Great. The arrival of Alexander the Great by the mid-4th century BCE, the once mighty Persian Empire was in decline, weakened by internal corruption, rebellious satraps, and ineffective leadership. This period of instability created an opportunity for a rising power in the West, Macedonia, led by a brilliant and ambitious young king, Alexander the Great. Alexander's invasion of Persia, 334 BCE. In 334 BCE, Alexander, at just 22 years old, launched his campaign against Persia, determined to fulfill his father King Philip II's vision of conquering the Achaemenid Empire. With an army of around 40,000 soldiers, including elite Macedonian phalanxes, swift cavalry units, and skilled Greek mercenaries, Alexander crossed the Hellespont, modern-day Dardanelles, into Asia Minor. His campaign began with the Battle of Granicus, 334 BCE, where his forces crushed the Persian satraps of Anatolia, marking the beginning of Persia's downfall. As he advanced, city after city surrendered, and those that resisted were swiftly defeated. Alexander's strategy was not only military conquest, but also winning the loyalty of Persian subjects through policies of integration and respect for local customs. The decisive Battle of Gaugamela, 331 BCE. Despite losing ground, King Darius III, the last ruler of the Persian Achaemenid dynasty, gathered a vast army to make a final stand against Alexander. The two forces met at Gaugamela, near modern-day Iraq, in 331 BCE. Darius's army, estimated to be over 200,000 soldiers, vastly outnumbered Alexander's 50,000 troops. However, superior numbers were no match for Alexander's military brilliance. Utilizing lightning-fast cavalry maneuvers, disciplined phalanxes, and a well-coordinated attack, Alexander shattered the Persian lines, forcing Darius to flee the battlefield in desperation. The fall of the Persian Empire, with Darius III's defeat, the Persian Empire was left defenseless. Alexander marched unchallenged into Babylon, Susa, and Persepolis, the heart of Persian power, where he was welcomed as a liberator by some and as a conqueror by others. In a dramatic and symbolic event, he burned the royal palace of Persepolis, allegedly as revenge for the Persian destruction of Athens during the Greco-Persian Wars. Darius III, abandoned by his own generals, was later assassinated by his own men in 330 BCE, marking the official end of the Achaemenid Empire. With his death, Alexander was declared the new king of Asia, bringing Persia fully under Macedonian rule. The aftermath and Alexander's legacy. Despite being a conqueror, Alexander sought to integrate Persian and Greek cultures, adopting Persian dress and customs and encouraging his soldiers to marry Persian women. He declared himself not just a foreign ruler, but the rightful successor to the Persian kings, blending Greek and Persian traditions in what became known as the Hellenistic era. However, Alexander's empire would not last long. Following his sudden death in 323 BCE, his vast empire fractured among his generals, leading to the rise of the Seleucid Empire in Persia. Though Persia's independence was lost, its cultural and administrative traditions continued to influence the Hellenistic world and later empires, ensuring that its legacy endured long after its fall. The legacy of the Persian Empire. Though the Achaemenid Empire fell to Alexander the Great in 330 BCE, its legacy endured for centuries, shaping the course of world history. The Persian approach to governance, administration, infrastructure, and cultural achievements laid the foundation for many civilizations that followed, influencing empires from Rome to the Islamic caliphates and beyond. Innovations in governance and administration. One of Persia's greatest contributions was its system of governance, which allowed an empire stretching across 3 continents to function efficiently. The satrapy system, introduced by Darius the Great, divided the empire into provinces, satrapies, each ruled by a satrap, governor. This model of decentralized administration was later adopted by the Romans, Byzantines, Ottomans, and even modern federal governments. Another key administrative achievement was the Persian postal system, known as the Royal Road Relay Network. This early communication system allowed messages to travel swiftly across the empire, inspiring later postal services such as the Roman cursus publicus and modern mail networks. Persia's approach to governance was also remarkably inclusive. Unlike many conquerors, Persian rulers embraced cultural and religious diversity, allowing subject peoples to retain their traditions. This policy of tolerance, first established by Cyrus the Great, set a precedent for later multicultural empires, including the Mughal Empire, Ottoman Empire, and modern nation-states. Persian influence on art, architecture, and culture. The artistic and architectural achievements of the Persian Empire had a profound impact on later civilizations. The grand palaces of Persepolis and Susa, with their towering columns, intricate reliefs, and fusion of Mesopotamian, Egyptian, and Greek styles, influenced later architectural traditions, particularly Islamic and Mughal architecture. Elements, such as ornate tile work, calligraphy, and vast palace complexes can be traced back to Persian aesthetics. Persian literature and philosophy continued to flourish long after the empire's fall. The Persian language, evolving into Middle and Modern Persian, became a dominant literary and intellectual medium in the region. Works such as the Shahnameh, Book of Kings, by Ferdowsi, written nearly 1300 years after the Achaemenid era, preserved the myths, legends, and history of ancient Persia, ensuring that its legacy was never forgotten. Persian philosophy and scholarship also played a role in shaping Islamic Golden Age thought, influencing fields such as astronomy, medicine, mathematics, and ethics. Many Persian scholars, including Avicenna, Ibn Sina, and Al-Farabi, built upon the intellectual traditions that had their roots in ancient Persia. Persia's lasting global impact, even in modern times, the legacy of the Persian Empire remains deeply embedded in global culture. The Persian New Year, Nowruz, dating back to the Zoroastrian traditions of the Achaemenid period, is still celebrated by millions across Iran, Central Asia, and parts of the Middle East. Persian traditions in poetry, music, cuisine, and art continue to influence cultures around the world. The ruins of Persepolis, despite being destroyed by Alexander, still stand today as a testament to the grandeur of the Persian Empire. Visitors from around the world marvel at the carvings of Persian warriors, kings, and tribute bearers, reminders of an era when Persia was the world's greatest empire. From governance and administration to art, architecture, and philosophy, the Persian Empire's contributions shaped civilizations for millennia. Though its political dominance ended, its influence never faded, a legacy that continues to thrive in modern Iran and beyond. The influence of the Persian Empire on future civilizations. The fall of the Achaemenid Persian Empire in 330 BCE did not mark the end of its influence. Instead, its administrative systems, military structures, and cultural achievements were adopted, refined, and expanded by many of the great civilizations that followed. From the Macedonians and Romans to the Byzantines and Islamic caliphates, Persia's legacy shaped the governance, infrastructure, and artistic traditions of future empires. Persian influence on governance and administration. One of Persia's most lasting contributions was its advanced system of governance. The satrapy system, introduced by Darius the Great, divided the empire into provinces, satrapies, each ruled by a satrap, governor, who reported directly to the king. This model allowed for efficient administration over vast territories, inspiring later empires such as the Macedonian Empire. After conquering Persia, Alexander the Great retained the satrapy system, appointing Macedonian and Persian officials to govern different regions. The Roman Empire. The Romans refined and expanded the Persian administrative model, using provincial governors, proconsuls, and legates to rule their vast empire. The Byzantine Empire. The Byzantines, inheritors of Rome's structures, continued, using centralized governance, integrating elements of Persian bureaucracy. The Islamic caliphates. The Umayyad and Abbasid caliphates directly borrowed Persian administrative practices, appointing viziers, chief ministers, and maintaining a highly organized taxation system inspired by Persian precedents. Persian influence on communication and infrastructure. The Persian Royal Road, stretching over 1,500 miles and featuring relay stations with fresh horses for couriers, was one of the earliest efficient postal systems. This innovation inspired later communication networks including the Roman Cursus Publicus, the empire's official postal system, the Byzantine Imperial Postal Service, which maintained rapid communication across the empire. The Islamic Barid system, which ensured government messages were delivered across the vast Islamic world. Persia's emphasis on trade and infrastructure also influenced later civilizations. The Silk Road, a crucial trade route connecting East and West, was built upon Persian foundations, linking China, India, and Europe for centuries. Persian influence on art and architecture. Persian aesthetics left a profound mark on world architecture, particularly during the Islamic Golden Age, 8th–14th centuries CE. Persian architectural elements such as grand domes and vaulted ceilings, intricate geometric tile work, sprawling courtyard gardens, chaharbagh design, were adopted and refined in Islamic, Mughal, and European architecture. Examples include the Alhambra, Spain. The Moorish palace in Granada reflects Persian influences in its ornate tile mosaics and elegant courtyards. The Taj Mahal, India. The famous Persian-style gardens, calligraphy, and domed architecture trace their roots to Safavid and Timurid Persian designs. Ottoman mosques. The Blue Mosque in Istanbul and other Ottoman structures were inspired by Persian domes, minarets, and decorative motifs. Persian influence on culture and intellectual traditions beyond governance and architecture. Persian cultural traditions endured and evolved, influencing literature, philosophy, and scientific thought. The Persian language, Middle and Modern Persian, became a major literary and administrative language across Central Asia, influencing the Abbasid Caliphate, where Persian scholars such as Avicenna, Ibn Sina, and Al-Farabi played key roles in advancing science and philosophy. The Mughal Empire, which made Persian the official court language in India for centuries. Persian poetry, including the works of Rumi, Ferdowsi, and Hafez, which shaped Islamic and Western literary traditions. A lasting legacy. Even today, Persia's impact on global governance, architecture, and culture is unmistakable. Its administrative innovations laid the groundwork for modern governments, trade networks, and postal services. Its artistic and architectural styles continue to inspire some of the world's most iconic structures, and its cultural traditions remain deeply embedded in societies across the Middle East, South Asia, and beyond. The Persian Empire was a beacon of power and innovation, but even the mightiest fall. Its rise and fall serve as a reminder of how history is shaped by ambition, leadership, and fate. What do you think was the greatest legacy of the Persian Empire? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe to Mysteries of Time, and hit the notification bell for more fascinating stories from Mysteries of Time. Until next time, keep exploring the past. Thanks for watching us.